Hello everyone, I'm Shroodledoodles, and I like to make doodles. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you've been a fan of my channel for a while now, then you probably already know I have some pretty bad luck. From illnesses to mechanical issues, I can't seem to catch a break. So I figured for today's video, I'd go ahead and make some cursed and possessed item Pokemon to try and turn my bad luck around. I'm not that big of a fan of horror movies, but I do have a fascination with real-life cursed and possessed objects, and none are more infamous by my knowledge than Annabelle herself. Although often portrayed as a porcelain doll, this is just a Hollywoodification. She's actually a popular children's doll that was invented in 1918 called Raggedy Ann, which was repopularized at the end of the 80s when the animated show came out. So this is Dolloom, the ragdoll Pokemon. The real-life Annabelle's story began when she was gifted to a young nurse, after which some strange occurrences began to happen. Being unsure as to whether or not the doll was the cause of these strange occurrences, she called in a medium, and the medium told her that the doll was possessed by a young girl named Annabelle. Once the doll started showing malicious intent, it found its way into the Warren Paranormal Museum, and that's how she ended up on the big screen as one of the antagonists in the movie The Conjuring. I wanted Dolloom to look like a rag doll, and I even gave it Annabelle's iconic red hair, but I didn't want it to be a one-for-one of a Raggedy Ann doll, so I changed the expression. Also, the Pokemon is actually the ghost eye in the belt of Dolloom. I thought this was kind of a creative way to bring a more Pokemon-like ghost aspect to this design. A doll that was once popular decades ago had been all but forgotten until they started moving. Some say that keeping this Pokemon brings around bad luck. The Conjuring is on the short list of horror movies that I have seen, and I honestly think it was a great inspiration for today's video. I must say, I do like this version of Annabelle a lot more. Now, what if something that you had in your home, something that you used every day, had its own malicious intentions? Well, the next Pokemon in today's video asks just that. This is Boogleam, and the name is a combination of Boo and Gleam. From TV shows to movies, fantasy to horror, there are tons of examples of supernatural mirrors. There's just something really spooky about the idea of looking at your own reflection and something else looking back at you. And I'll admit, as a kid, I was terrified of Bloody Mary. So with both fictional and real-life examples to pull from, I feel like Boogleam is a great fit for today's video. And I'm actually really happy about that because it's a redesign of one of the first fakemon I drew when I got my drawing tablet. I really like the original design, but I'm so happy that I redesigned it. I've grown a lot as an artist, and I feel like this redesign really shows how much I've improved. Boogleam are terrified of everything. If you look into its mirror, you will see your darkest fear and be plagued by nightmares for weeks. And this might be partially inspired by my own real-life experiences. I definitely had an overactive imagination when I was a kid. The original design of Boogleam actually had an evolution, so of course for this video I decided to go ahead and redesign the evolution as well. This is Mirraghast, and the name is a combination of mirror and ghast. When I was originally designing an evolution for Boogleam, I took inspiration from a standing mirror, but when it came to the redesign, I ended up taking inspiration from a wall mirror instead. I felt like this better tied in with the concept of today's video, and honestly was a better logical step than a standing mirror. As I was working on the redesign for today's video, I started thinking it's kind of weird that we don't already have a possessed mirror Pokemon. It just feels like something that Game Freak would have already created. I think it's just one of those things I didn't realize I wanted until I did. This Pokemon has been found in abandoned buildings, often attaching to walls as a way of disguising itself. Beware of mirrors in abandoned places. I think the redesigns of both Boogleam and Mirraghast turned out amazing, and I'm so happy I finally got to share them with all of you. And now we interrupt your video for a special announcement. Guys, I'm so close to 500 subscribers, so if you aren't subscribed to me by now, do me a solid and go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to leave a like and a comment about the video. Now let's get back to it. So this is Hexlett, the cursed amulet Pokemon, the name being a combination of hex and amulet. One of my favorite computer games growing up was called Fate, and it had a whole bunch of enchanted items. And one of my favorite things to do would be explore the dungeons or go fishing and collect these enchanted items and either sell them or wear them. Many of which did have some pretty significant debuffs. And one of the items you could collect, or one of the categories of items you could collect I should say, was amulets. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a lot of real-life examples to pull from, but I think overall I did a pretty good job of designing Hexlett, and it looks like a cursed amulet Pokemon. This Pokemon drains the life force of trainers unlucky enough to have one wrap around their neck. They can be almost impossible to remove, which is of course in reference to how most cursed items are next to impossible to take off, as that's part of the curse. So far, this video has been made up of some pretty common household items turned into cursed Pokemon. But what if I told you that the most common cursed item was just rocks? That's right, rocks. Interestingly enough, thousands of rocks are returned every year to Hawaii because of Pele's curse, which warns against taking rocks, sands, or pumice from the Hawaiian Islands. Apparently, it brings bad luck to the collector. And this is Pebblegast, the cursed rock Pokemon, the name being a combination of pebble and ghast. And I don't know, something about a haunted rock just felt very Pokemon to me and perfect for today's video. The concept was pretty simple, so I wanted to keep the design simple too. And it was about at this point in the video that I realized I had kind of picked up a color theme. I guess I just have an idea in my mind of what a possessed item Pokemon should be. Trainers swear when they first picked up Pebblegast, it was just a rock, but soon after leaving the island they found it on, the Pokemon appeared. It causes all sorts of mischief until it's returned home. I find the idea of cursed rocks really fascinating, which is why Pebblegast is what happens when you take one of the rocks away from its evolution and next Pokemon in today's video. This is Bouldergeist, the cursed boulder Pokemon, and the name is a combination of boulder and poltergeist. So when I was designing Pebblegast, I felt like the design was honestly maybe a little too simple, and because of how simple it was, it had to have an evolution. And you know, because Bouldergeist is literally a possessed rock, I had to go Ghost Rock type. It's a really cool type combo, and I don't think we have enough Ghost Rock type Pokemon as it is, so I wouldn't mind having a few more. You know, it can be kind of difficult to make a rock look lively, but I think this pose of him collecting pebbles while looking for more really works. And overall, I'm just really happy with the way this design turned out. It's a pretty simple and silly concept, but I think it really works as a fakemon. This Pokemon collects stones and gathers them around itself. When sleeping, it resembles a boulder, but trainers be wary of taking its coveted stones. At this point, I could have just been done with the video and said, there it is, here's some cursed item Pokemon. But I wanted to do just one more, and I was a little bit stuck on what to do. So I went to Discord and you guys, and I asked for suggestions. Then Huntah from New Zealand suggested a cursed radio Pokemon. And honestly, I loved that idea. I had to do it. So this is EMFM, the cursed frequency Pokemon. And the name takes a little bit of inspiration from LGM and BEM. So if you're a fan of ghost hunting content, you've probably heard the term EMF before, because supposedly ghosts communicate using EMFs. I couldn't find any examples of haunted radios or ghosts using a radio to communicate, but I swear I've seen it somewhere before. So for EMFM's design, I decided to go with a vintage style radio. I felt like this helped add to the haunted feeling of the overall design. And I mean, it looks so stylish, of course I had to go with something more vintage. And I think my favorite part of the design is the way I rendered the ghostly music. Definitely some of my better work. This Pokemon plays a haunting tune. Trainers that have heard it fall into a trance for days, and when they come to, they have aged rapidly. A pretty typical ghost-type Pokemon thing to do. Making this video, I've come to learn that curses and bad luck will get blamed on just about anything, and 9 times out of 10, they'll blame a ghost. Hopefully now that I've made this video learning about different cursed and possessed items from around the world, I'll stop being so cursed and I'll be able to turn my luck around too. But really, this video was just an excuse to make some cool new ghost-type Pokemon. Well, you made it to the end of the video, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Fakemon and chaos. This video is a little bit longer than what I've been doing lately, but I hope that just means more cool Fakemon for you guys to enjoy. Until next time.